Hello, everyone, and welcome to another SHIP live event. Today, we are going to be talking about ownership with Kirsten Rourke of Rourke Training and Dr. Farzana, who is the founder of Optimize Intelligence. I'll be your host for today. I'm Kristen Spencer. I'm a word lady. And if you like the way that everything in your business is running as far as messaging and copy, then you don't need to talk to me at all. So, everyone say hi, Dr. Farr. Kirsten, how is everyone doing today?
Hello. Oh, so good. I love the music because before I was just doing this. Hi, everybody in the chat. Howdy,
Yes,
howdy.
hello, and hi to the people who are watching the replay. How are you
Yes.
doing today, Dr. Farr?
Hello, Christine and Christine. I am doing well, and hello everyone who is watching us live and on recording. It has been a great start of the day, and we will knock out the workplace puzzle.
That's right. Amazing. Okay, so first order of business is if you are watching the LinkedIn and for some reason it kicks you off or there's glitches, you can also find a backup of this live stream at YouTube by going to youtube.com/@ship panel. And like I always say, it's got two P's because it's two words. And for some reason,
Whoop.
Kirsten's tuning in on her phone so that she can join in to the chat. Hi,
And it started
Connie,
playing.
if you're watching, please let us know where you're watching from. We like to know who is tuning in from where. It's really valuable to us. All right, are we ready to dive into the first question?
Let's do it.
Okay, so what does workplace ownership refer to? And I actually found this because if you follow me at all, you know I'm a huge Answer the Public proponent, even though Neil Patel bought it, whatever, right? But this is something that people are searching for in a really high volume, which means there's not enough people out there talking about it. So, Dr. Farzana, would you like to take this question first? What does workplace ownership refer to in your mind from your experience?
That is a great question, and hindsight is 2020. I have been on both sides of this front, working in different corporations and organizations, and then having my own business. Workplace ownership, in my mind, now means that what you have as a capability and a skill set, and how you own it and how you display and exhibit it in your workplace, even though you don't own that business for the sake of the business. I was not aware of it for so many reasons, and gender also played a role in a trade industry of architecture. But knowing your capabilities, developing them, and owning them, and showing them with full confidence is important. Thank you, Christine.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Farzana. All right, and I just put in the chat on LinkedIn that Angel, Kirsten's dog, is also joining us. So if you hear
Yes.
Angel, she's out there promoting women's equality with her barks. Okay.
She is 100%. She's a
So
very,
Kirsten,
yes. So that's Angel.
oh, so cute.
It's Angel. Yes, she says hi. So I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, how would you answer this question? What does workplace ownership refer to?
So I think workplace ownership actually has like tiers to it, but what I like to think of it as is ownership of the overall mission and health of not only your team and the company, but yourself and the overall writing goals. So like all of it structures and tiers to each other. So when I was managing remote teams, I would look for the burnout. I would look for, those signs that my teams, their energy was going down. I didn't manage their time because they're adults. I managed their energy. So if, we had a project that was here and here during this gap, I needed to make sure that people were doing what they needed to get their energy back and to get their creative juices flowing again and all of that, because attention and energy is a wave. And you need to be clear that, we're dealing with humans, right? We all are human beings. We all have needs. We all have things that happen. None of us, at least as far as I know, none of us are machines. None of us are robots. So you need to factor that in, and especially the help and health of your team and your business is the health of your future
Yeah,
as a company.
amazing. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question from my perspective now, as someone who has been both an employee and an employer. And I would say that one of the things that's really important to me in both spaces is to be able to take ownership of your mistakes in a way that shows that you understand that there was a mistake. You also can give yourself grace because you're a messy human, like Kirsten said. We're not robots. But also that if you have made a mistake because of a lack of knowledge or lack of information, that you ask for help. Maybe it's difficult. We all need to get to the place where we're asking for help beforehand, but that's not what always happens. And so I would say, like, to me, ownership is learning to lean into the fact that we're not going to do everything perfectly, and that we sometimes don't have all the information we need, and that we need to go then and get that information, so that not so that we can be perfect, but so that we're doing the best we can. And also, that way, when things happen, because things are going to happen, things are going to go wrong, you can say with that voice of ownership, I did what I needed to do. I found the information I needed to find. And it's okay that this went south, as long as I'm being honest about what the system was that took us to this place.
Dr. Farr, you had your hand up?
I want to add 2 points. Great description, both Christine Rorke and Christine Spencer. One thing that workplaces needs to be mindful of is that it is not the concept of toxic positivity. So when you say that mental well-being and energy is important, you need to back it up with the actions. And in terms of the point that we need to own our mistakes, we definitely need to own our mistakes, because mistakes tells us how to improve ourselves. But with the perceptions associated with gender, woman says sorry a lot of times. So you have to make sure that your mistakes are actually mistakes and not just the perceptions you are. I think
Excellent point.
so. Thank
Excellent
you.
point. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to bust Kristen for this, and I haven't had to, so I'm very happy, about apologizing for existing. Like the default of the I'm sorry, and exactly what Farzana was talking about is, when you're owning your mistakes, forgiveness is part of the process, but there's the I did it, I learned from it, I'm moving on. That's it. The self-flagellation does not need to be part of this. That is not helpful.
It's not helpful at all.
Yeah, I mean, beating yourself up on everything, and then this colonized idea of perfection, whether it's a perfection in appearance, whether it's a perfection in any other form, and especially in workplaces. Get out of those traditional mindsets and look at it what the reality is. If you are in workplaces, are you able to support and help your company to achieve what they are looking for, the success both in terms of return on investment, but the success in terms of having teams which are very productive and happy and talk good about the company itself.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to add, so, before my business pivoted to working exclusively with other businesses, it was a copy editing and developmental editing co-op. And one of the things that would happen is clients would come in with these super unrealistic expectations that a copy editor can find and fix every single mistake in your manuscript. And that's impossible. And if any other industry were held to that standard, nothing would ever happen. So I think it's important too when we're talking about ownership that clients take ownership of their expectations. And I know we all have businesses here, but we've also been clients of other businesses. And
Mhm.
are we being reasonable with those expectations? Or
Mhm.
are we setting up the people that we're entrusting to help us for failure? Because that
Solid.
is not taking ownership. And that bums everyone out in my Californian speak.
Nice. Yeah, and it's a communication thing.
Mhm.
The frustration that I have with a company I've been doing work with is that I haven't felt like I've understood why there's delays and why there's things going on. And recently I got a back channel message saying, "Hey, by the way, there's a lot going on. Here's what it is." That's awesome. Now that I know, I can adjust accordingly. I should have been thinking about we never know what's going on with people. We never factor
Mm.
that in. And having a communication from them saying a lot's going on with us. Here's the new timeline would have been helpful. So it's a dance. You can't control what other people do. Um, so try to see if you can use yourself to make the thing more accountable and a little bit more flexible and a little bit easier. But also, when people aren't communicating and you don't know what's going on, helping them learn that they need to communicate is a useful thing for both them and you. Not everybody realizes that they communicated in their head instead of out loud.
Yes, yeah. That happens when I'm working with clients a lot on their book because I'm like, "Hey, so you went from this to this. Did something happen in between there? Because I feel like maybe there's no connecting piece." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I thought I wrote that, but I just thought it and it didn't make its way into the book." So that happens all the time. I think that's a good segue for our next question. Dr. Farzana, do you want to take this one first? How do I, like, let's personalize this, right? How do I take ownership over my own position at work?
Mm.
So, the one practice we have not been taught effectively as female is mapping out your path. So, write down, map out who you are, and where you want to go. In that process, you will figure out the different pieces of how the workplace ownership will work for you, and that mindset that you have to stay in a certain workplace forever has changed and transformed, and you see it in everyone's success. So map that out and work on the details of the pieces which you want to develop yourself. And if you have a goal, whether it is a goal in future to be a president or vice president of the big corporations or the president of your own company, work on the pieces which will help you in getting there. So proactive mapping of your own workplace journey is important.
That's amazing. Yeah, I haven't ever really thought about creating a map for myself or, for people on my team. But in that, you not only see where you're headed, but you see where you've been. So that's so encouraging and validating. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Kirsten, what's your take on this question?
So I, as everybody who's heard me on any of these knows, I get fairly frequently busted by my sales coach with a reality check that I desperately needed. And one of the recent ones was, have you blocked out CEO time? Have you blocked out your CEO time? Because as CEO, you need to have time to just visualize what you want the company to be, where you want to go with things, the dreams, the things. You have to have separate time from, oh my God, there's emails, and oh my God, there's voicemails, and oh my God, there's this, to just do the visualization and the big picture work that is part of your job as a leader. And with my team, I got busted by my operations person, Danny, which was awesome because I was talking to her about, I want you all to be doing ongoing mastery plans for where you want to be with this job and what skills you want to grow. And she goes, "Where's yours?" And I'm like, busted. Right. Yes, I need to be doing that too. Ongoing mastery is everything. You are never done. You are a work in progress. We are all a work in progress. So
Mhm.
how do you want to grow? Because you can't grow all the ways. You have to grow some direction. What's that going to be?
Yeah, I love that. And I would say that kind of ties into what I was thinking is one of the things that we don't like to talk about is taking ownership by delegating. And delegating can be one of these really
Yeah.
tricky things. And I don't know if anyone else out there is a recovering perfectionist like this lady. But delegating is exceptionally hard for me because if words are involved, my brain wants to go, no one is going to care about the words as much as you do. And
Yeah, it
I
is.
need to tell my brain,
Mhm.
guess what? It doesn't matter how much I care because I am not a time traveler and I cannot make more time for myself. So, do I want to grow or do I want to like be so analytical about every word that comes out that my company is frozen, my profits go down, and my team has to go find other people to work with?
Yeah. 100%. Yes. Recovering Perfectionists Anonymous.
And
Except that I'm not so anonymous about it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Farr.
I have also learned like that emails, those are blessings and curse. But in my leadership journey, I have learned I write an email response to myself and never hit the send button to the team until and unless I have think through it and I'm not demanding a perfection. I am demanding a work which I have hired them for. So
Mm.
detachment from yourself is important when you are working with teams, both
Yeah.
teams up to you and teams working with you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And in the
that's an
chat, yes,
amazing
we
point.
have other recovering perfectionists. Let's
Yes.
hear it. Very good.
All right. And I think that just goes back to it's a control issue, right? And I think we need to distinguish, and I can't help myself because I'm a word person, between ownership and control.
Mm.
Because ownership is things that I can control. Trying to take control over things that I have no say over is actually just being a jerk face. So, and that's a technical term,
I
by
want
the
that on a
way.
t-shirt. I do. Well, ownership is a big part of ownership is giving up control to other people.
That's
That's
right.
hard to do, especially when it's like, well, I could do it better. But it doesn't matter if you could do it better. It's not for you to do. That's not your role. Like, let other people be part of the process. That's what they're there for.
Right.
Yeah.
And Christine Spencer can help us in wordsmithing this, but it is if we have to work on taking the word control out of our language and our phrases, because control in our brains is associated with power and privilege. And when you're working with teams, you're working with humans and treat them as a human whom you want to work with you the same way you want anyone else to treat
Yep.
you. So that is important. And as I said, Christine Esken, what is
Yes. Our resident wordsmith of awesomeness. Yes.
I can't, yeah, I just am like always thinking, like, what does this really mean? What word could I use instead? And in my own brain, I'm just like, you little control freak. You are not actually in control of any of these things. Why don't you just bless and release these
Bless and
items
release.
off of your
Bless and
checklist?
release. Yes.
Christine, both Christines, I have a question for you. So
Yes.
we are talking about our own self ownership, but let's flip this question and talk about what if that control is exercised on us and how we can take ownership and how we can navigate it.
Mm,
Yeah,
nice.
this is a great question. Okay, I guess I'll start since I'm talking already. So for me, this is a huge problem that my personality wants to rage against, because I am one of the people that my first default is to do anything you ask me to do, and to do it so well that you are like amazed and in awe. And I think, this probably comes out of my dysfunctional childhood, which Dr. Farzana knows all about. But it's one of those things where if someone is not taking ownership, that doesn't mean it is your job to then come in and own it for them. And that's not actually going to make the situation better. So yeah, that's my answer. I hope that answered your question, Dr. Farzana. My brain is all mushy right now because my brain is like, hey, you're not even allowed to do that. You have to make sure everyone else around you is okay. But I'm learning that I don't need to think that. I don't need to filter all of my thoughts through that. So
Nice.
yeah, whoever wants to try to answer this amazing question next.
I love that. And put it in the chat. It's perfect. If someone is not taking ownership, that doesn't mean it's your job to come in and take ownership for them. Well said. Yeah. One of the things about ownership and allyship and all of the ships, right, is if someone is imposing on you or imposing on someone that you see, speaking up for yourself is a learned skill. And a lot of it comes from a life of privilege. Like, I learned to speak up for myself very, very early. And so because it is easier for me, I will use that to support the less recognized peers I have if they are getting stuff. But if you do not stand up for yourself and do not stand up for the under-recognized people in your peer groups and in your work groups, then what you're doing is essentially allowing the person who is making that error, whether it's deliberate or unconscious, to continue putting darkness into the world and poison into the world, right? They may not be intentionally doing that. They may not know any better. But whether they know it or not, that behavior needs to shift, because everybody needs to be able to grow. Everybody needs to be able to move up. And somebody who is deliberately kind of kicking down or pushing down, that needs to get stopped. LinkedIn user in the chat, not everyone wants to be an owner. They just want to do a job and go home to their real interest. Yeah, one of the things about ownership is recognizing what is it that's needed from you? What is it that's expected of you? And what is it that you want? How do you want to show up in the world? Not everybody wants to be, I'm going to go do the thing. If you have that, people like me probably will step in and do it for you if you don't. That's kind of that's what that is. What is it that you want to do with your ownership? What is it you want to do with your voice, your energy, your strength, and your privilege?
And I will add to that, Christine, that it is still taking an ownership that you decide that you don't want to be owner at work and you just want to do your work and go home. That is the decision a person can make them for themselves. And I have made those decisions. We have made those decisions. And it comes from different factors. There is a microaggression at work. We need to be mindful of, are we subjected to it? And are we subjecting others to it through our little knowledge or our big knowledge? Those things are not even addressed when we talk about ownerships at work. So we need to be mindful of what we have gone through and what we are able to do to other people also.
I'd like to ask a question of you two, if that's okay,
Of course.
on ownership. So how does ownership as an entrepreneur or business owner reflect for the ownership of your health as it comes to your business?
Oh yeah, that's a deep one. Dang. Okay. So I would say you cannot wait, let me backtrack a little bit. So everyone out there who's watching this, I'm talking to you. If I'm looking at your face right now, I'm talking to you. There are people out there who do not care as much as you do about helping people the way you help them. And if you do not go out and get in front of these people, someone else will. And they'll probably charge them too much and they'll probably treat them poorly. So if you're an entrepreneur, that is the first thing to own, that your audience literally needs you. Literally. And yes, I'm not like, we shouldn't have changed the definition of figuratively and literally, but that is part of understanding your ownership over your relationship with your clients. With that being said, if you do not take care of yourself, you can't take ownership over anything in your business and it will fail. So you need to figure out sustainable ways to maintain your physical, emotional, and spiritual health so that you can help the people out there who really need you. Okay, I'm stepping down off my soapbox now.
Okay, and I'll share another aspect of it. Being in the high-end leadership roles where the so much is at stake and the deadlines when they are approaching, as a leader, I had a tendency to get into trying to manage everything what is going on, so it becomes a 24/7 initiative in the last a few weeks of the delivery of the project or the event. And that means emails, documentation, reading at 4 a.m., at 2 a.m., and sending them out, and learn that you should not send out at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. to anyone else's inbox. That leads to severe physical health, because then you are tired, you are exhausted, your brain functions are exhausted, and that also then does not lead into a good teamwork, because then you are not communicating properly. And the lessons learned from those times, intense times, is that how important it is at that particular instance to take care of yourself, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, and block out times and breathe and do whatever you can do, whether it's breathing, yoga, however it gives you that break. So remember that when you are working on your ownership mapping.
What?
Yes, amazing.
Yes, I love it. What are the ways in the chat? What are the ways you relax? What are the ways you enjoy yourself? What are the ways you unplug? And if you haven't learned poker, you need to learn it from Anne. Just saying.
Yes. And who's producing today? Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Anne, who is producing our poker goddess. Woot.
Okay, we have one last question. I think this will end us. We've got 2 more minutes. So when shouldn't I take ownership at work? And I feel like we danced around this a little bit, but let's like stomp directly onto it because this is a huge issue. So Kirsten, what are your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I'm gonna be crass on this one, especially as a potential micromanager. And for those of you who I understand you have that drive, stay in your damn lane. Do not climb into people's underwear and micromanage them. They're adults. Your results are production. Your results are the results that you see, the data, the money, all of that. That's yours. What they do with their time, how they work, all of that. If they're getting their job done, they're adults. Leave them alone. If you're climbing into somebody's day going, well, were you online at 8 a.m.? If they're an adult and they weren't online at 8 a.m. and they get all of their work done, get over yourself. They're an adult, okay? If they get the work done, they get the work done. Maybe they had something happen. Maybe the kids were up. Maybe the dog threw up on their computer. You don't know what's going on with people. You're managing their energy and their output. You are not managing their time. They're not friggin' robots. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm standing
that's
off my soapbox now.
Yeah. Dr. Farzana.
So Christine has described a lot, and I will add to that. Get into the habit of telling yourself that you are owner of your own destiny the moment you walk into any workplace, and even if it is your own business, and then ensure that what Christine just said, that you are not micromanaging it. treat them as the humans, as the adults they are, even if they come from different backgrounds. And even if you think their language or their accent is not perfect, but if their work is giving you results, be that owner for yourself and not try to be owner for others.
Yes, that is a great way to end today. So be the owner for yourself and stop trying to own other people because people are not objects. Uh, so thank you so much for your delightful insights, both of our shipmates and panelists. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And remember that you own your destiny. If you liked what you saw today, we will be doing another live ownership panel next week. It will be part 3 in this 3-part series, and we hope that we will see you with your amazing brain and your amazing self there. So everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.